This conference will now be recorded.
I like your idea. Right.
Ready? Ready? At 6 o'clock, I'll call the meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I believe we don't have any amendments, so I just need approval of the adoption of the agenda. Any further discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Let's review the minutes from our regular meeting of October 6, 2022.
So who gave you all the information, Brian, of who said the yays and nays? You did?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, so we had a little record problem during that meeting. Didn't have any sound, so I had to recreate it. But yep, we got it. If you see something wrong on there, speak up though.
No, it all looks good to me.
These minutes aren't nearly as good because Kim usually does it, and these are mine, so.
True story, I'm not finding all the spelling errors yet.
Keep looking.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 6th.
Second it?
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0.
You have to abstain.
What?
You weren't here. Oh, yeah, was I not here?
You were here.
No,
Where
yeah,
was
no.
I?
For the council meeting?
Oh, yeah, you did come.
Yep, Tina was
Remember?
I was like, I think
Yeah, you
I
did, but
was.
you were-
I can't, so I'll abstain, so 4-0-1.
Yep.
Good catch there, good catch. Review the minutes from the emergency meeting on October 14th, which I believe there was 3 of us.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't, we had an emergency meeting because we had to appoint election judges. We thought we had done it, and we found out the day
only
that
for
it
the
was the day
primary.
before it was due, yeah. We held off. Usually you approve both the primary and the general at the same time, but we knew we were gonna have more judges for the general, so we held off approving the general, and both my staff and I, we forgot. Or thought we had done it and we didn't, so we had to have an emergency meeting.
So I will make a motion to approve our meeting on October 14th.
I'll second that.
I got a question. Can we add what the results of the vote were? I mean, who was added to that? Because that's not in the minutes.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I mean, I have no problem with it, but I'll say yay. But we could just add that. That'd be great. That way we know who they are.
And I think you just sent them out.
Yes, it was in the packet, yep, but I can put the names in the minutes too. That probably makes sense.
Bob, second it?
Yeah, I did.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstain? I think Dirk's got to abstain
Yeah,
too,
you have to.
because you weren't there.
Okay.
So it passes 3-0-2. Thank you.
Kim, remind me to do that. Remind me to change those minutes.
Accounts payable, Tina.
Look at that, it's me. So, now let's talk through just, state fire aid, that's a big one that went through. And so that is 77930. Other than that, I think all of them are pretty regular. Do you have anything that I'm missing? Then, no, perfect, then I will make a motion that we, approve the accounts payable in the amount of $95,764.90.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Tina. Public comment portion. Individuals may address the city council about any items of concern. Speakers must state their name and limit their remarks to 5 minutes. Any public comments?
Is that us?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay.
If you could stand up a little bit,
Or
could you, or
just-
stand up, not a little bit?
Halfway.
Yeah.
I could stand up just a little bit.
Perfect.
The whole way, whatever would. Anyway, I have a big problem with a water bill over on 13th Street there. We have a list, we went back 2 years here, and we've had Anyway, it goes 2,000, 2,000, 15,000,
Meter.
2,000, the meter. And I've had Steve Paulson over there. I've had Mike, I think, over there, and they've tried to do things with that. But this thing is just not right. There is no way. It's a small unit. We, you know, 2, 3, and then again,
One of the times that the bill went up to $160, there wasn't even anybody in the house. And there's no leaks. We've had Paulson over there, like we said, looking to see if there's any leaks, and there's none. We've had the meter part change. I don't know what the names of these things are, but Paulson said today that we should maybe have this piece changed because that's been there since the townhouse was built, which was 25 years ago. So that's the original piece that was there. So anyway, we don't understand why our bill goes from, like he said, 2,000 meters to 15,000
15,000.
meters
Yeah,
when
and
there's, nobody uses that kind of water. We live in a house twice that size. No, honestly, we live in a house twice that size and we don't even come near that.
And for
We don't have like 5 kids in the house or anything like that. You know, there's 2 people in there. They hardly ever do the laundry. They, you know, aren't frequent shower takers. They
gross.
They don't water the plants, you know, they don't have a dishwasher.
And for a long time, we had a single girl there.
Yeah, and it's one toilet.
It was one person.
And the toilet isn't leaking.
Yeah, nothing is leaking there. We know what leaks are. You hear it. I mean, there is just absolutely something wrong with the meter or something like that. This is impossible for it to be like that. And, you know, I would like to see, you know, some kind of adjustment or compensation. I mean, how do you go 2,000, 2,000, 18,000, 2,000, 2,000, like that? You know, this is costing us hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And with water is a precious resource. Do you think for 1 minute, if 17,000 gallons were going out in a month, that I wouldn't do what I had to do to fix that?
Yeah, you don't, there's no evidence of that much water being even used at the place, so we need to get to the bottom of it.
They said they replaced the meter. Mike, did you go there, Mike?
It looks like, I went through their thing, it looked like the meter was replaced in October.
Turn the mic on. Yeah, the meter was replaced, but that other part wasn't replaced, and that's what Paulson was saying that,
The reader, I can't see the
I'll show you,
picture.
I don't know what it's called, so. This part right here. This is original to this.
And we've out of pocket had Paulson going up there costing us that too, by the way.
So that is.
You say your usage is 18,000 gallons a month?
It varies from 2, it's been as high as 17, 15, 15. I have, you know, you guys gave me the readout right here.
Yeah, the norm would have been like, the norm for that place would have been 2,000.
Yeah.
So,
But, yeah,
and nothing has changed.
nobody can figure it out. I don't, you know, but there is just absolutely something wrong with this stuff.
Well, 18,000 gallons a month is less than a half a gallon a minute of leakage somewhere. It's 0.4.
Oh, don't give me that stuff.
What's that?
Okay, fine, yeah.
No, I work in a power plant, and as an ops manager, I try to figure out where my leakage is too. And I'm just saying that, you know, it's not a gusher somewhere that you're looking for. It could be a leaking sink. I mean, obviously the meter needs to be adjusted and things need to be looked
We've
at.
had Steve over to check for leaks.
Okay.
There aren't
Yeah,
any leaks.
several times we've had
Yeah.
plumbers. I appreciate your situation there, but it just doesn't apply in my humble opinion that this is just wrong. It's just ridiculous. I wouldn't even want to sell the house. Oh, guess what? You use 1 million gallons that month. Wow. Maybe I should shut the water off so maybe I could get it down to 8,000. Don't have any water going in there. The meter is wrong. There is something wrong in this.
Yep, so what I know of what we've been working with them, we've sent Ronnie out there different times. I think this came up and then we replaced the meter after this came up, right? That there was an issue, and so we went out and I think we replaced the meter, and I believe we tested that meter, and that meter was correct or running correct, if my recollection is right. And then again, it came up again after the new meter. And so,
The volume came up again?
Right
Yep, all of a
after,
sudden they had
hold
another
on.
month of.
Right after the meter was changed, it went down it was back to normal for a while. And then it went back, shot back up again somewhat recently.
Yeah, here. I'll go back here. How far is it?
You want me to look?
No,
Kim, do you have the number?
I just did a quick, and maybe you can verify, I was just looking at their bill online and looked like in October of 21, they used 6,000 gallons. I believe that's when the new meter was installed. And then in 12 of 21, it went up to 15,000. In 2 of 22, it was at 17,000. And then it was kind of regular usage. And then in September, it went up to 14,000 again.
And
So it's going on, it's fluctuating.
2000, 2017, 15, 2. How does that explain leakage? Well, I didn't even, strike that.
You have grounding on the meter too. The meter may not be grounded properly.
Whatever it is, we're not using
Maybe a
this
voltage
water, and
issue
I
in
hope you
your
can
house.
figure it out.
So how do
Because this
we?
is disgusting.
Yeah, we don't know like how if the meter it's a voltage problem, then isn't that the installation of the meter? Isn't that, is that
The meters
something
are mechanical.
Great
detectable?
voltages in a house is not the water meter's problem,
Right.
but it could cause an issue with the meter. So
Mike, do you have any suggestions that we need to do or
Well,
should do?
I think I'll talk to Ronnie about that reader. I mean, we can always start with the reader, and see where we are at with the reader. As far as the meter, yeah, and I don't know what kind of, but they got a new meter out that's just a flow-through meter now too, so there's no mechanical parts to it, but we'll definitely take a look at the reader.
And we've been going out there and we've been trying, we're as perplexed as you are on what this is. You know, a lot of times it's just that eventually down the road, oh, we found something that was causing this, whether it be and I told you that too, not that that's this case, but one time we had someone, oh yeah, my kids were taking showers in the middle of the day, you know, after months and months of the same thing. And it was discovered. And I know it might not be that in this case, but we do, you know, keep on these things when these complaints come up. We don't just say, oh, no, you're wrong. We go out there, again, multiple times and
Yeah,
try
I just want to
multiple different
reiterate that I think one of the first times we noticed it go way up, nobody was actually even in the house for an entire month.
And we'd go over there, you know, it isn't like, you know, we'd go over there because, you know, just to check on stuff and the dog. You know, I'm 73 years. I know when water is leaking. I know that stuff. And there is a false absolute reading on this stuff. And it's costing us hundreds of dollars, you know.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm
What we'll
done
do is
then.
we'll have Michael send Ronnie over there, and if we have to change the meter or look at it, is there any other things you would suggest, Mike? And go from there, and just keep on working with working with our city staff, and if it continues a problem, I mean, I think I was aware of it a couple months ago when I was in, so I was aware of it. So just keep on working with the city staff, and we'll try to figure out what it is.
Turns out that's the issue. Will we be able to be compensated for the
Excess charges.
charges?
Are you looking at me?
Somebody?
That would be
Well,
a
just
council
think
decision
about
based
it.
on
Yeah, I mean,
what the results
Think
are.
about that.
Yeah, we'd have to look at.
Just think about it. You
just
don't have
take an
to answer.
average, yeah. I mean, it's something that we'll look at. We need to figure out what the problem is first.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
If we find that it is, due to the false readings, the meter, then we just want to know if
Yeah.
we'll be compensated for that.
Figure out, absolutely, we'll consider something like that.
Okay.
It'll be considered for sure.
I mean,
Sounds good.
we can look on the computer.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all very
you.
much. Thank you. Behave yourself.
Any other
Be
public
a-
comments?
I am.
I will close the public comments portions and we'll jump down to new business. 9A, water sewer budget. Kim.
Hi, I was just,
This is timely.
Dang it, I should have waited till you're out.
I haven't. We always do our water and sewer budget third quarter. We would hope to start it earlier this year, but just with time constraints and stuff, we didn't get it. So this is our first throw over the bow. There's going to be adjustments to it. Mike and I and Paul and Jeff are going to sit down because, of course, with inflationary costs, we just don't feel like the costs are adequately reflecting what we need. But I wanted to get something in front of you, at least with the personnel costs and some of the other things, so that I could bring it before you. We'll have adjustments for it next council meeting. I'm getting some of the other costs back for like health insurance, because we guess, basically, we just add a percentage increase, and I usually adjust down for that or up, depending on what happens. So you'll be seeing some adjustments to that as well. But I just wanted to get it in front of you so you could look at it, and it's a work in progress. This will have to be, the entire budget has to be approved in December so that we can certify it. And the water and sewer budgets, of course, do not affect tax levy. That's a fee-driven thing. Now, the study that Ellers was proposing, that they proposed, was a 10% increase to sewer this year and a 6% increase to water. And there were some mitigating circumstances to that as to why they were some preparations for future projects. So I will keep you abreast of that, and you can look at those as we come through that next month.
Perfect. Any more questions for Kim? Thanks, Kim. 9B, CETA 2023 contract. Brian.
Yep, we renew the contract every year for CETA. This year, we've got the 7 days in there. We did the retro on that for part of the year with the extra 2 days. So this contract reflects all 7 days, which is our 5 full-time days, and then the Munira, who's here at 2 days a week now, working on a lot of planning stuff, future planning and all that good stuff. So this reflects, it's about, I think the total was about 125 something last contract, and this one's 132.10. So it's give or take 3.84% increase. And we kind of want to move forward with the structure we've got right now. It's coming into shape. Kurt is finding his groove, and with Munira, who is just, she's going to go. It's great. And we want to just keep them going. So request approval of the CETA contract for 2023.
I will make a motion to approve the CETA contract for staff for 2023.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Brian. Let's jump to 9C, a Billman plat. I don't know if Bill wants to go first,
Oh, I can kick it off.
or Brian can start it and then go, Matt.
We had, we're gonna tag team this one with Bill and Matt mostly, but this is a little chunk of land out off of 10. That there's a finger that was annexed into the city, and this is part of that. And we had a request to split that into 3 different parcels. And there's some issues, or not issues, there's some different things with that being in the city. We don't have water or sewer anywhere near it, and we're not going to for a while. I wasn't involved in a lot of these discussions, so I want to defer to Matt and Bill to speak to some of the discussions and what exactly is going on out there.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt. Plating is required because it's more than one split going on at the same time. Otherwise, we would have just done a minor subdivision, but Mr. Billman wanted to create 3 parcels out of one, so that our ordinance requires plating on that. And because it's so kind of rural, there really wasn't much else to consider as far as infrastructure and streets and utility easements and things like that. So it's really straightforward. Planning Commission approved the preliminary plat, and now it's in front of council for approval. And then after that, assuming no changes, no recommended changes on the preliminary plat, then there will need to be a final plat presented to the Planning Commission with Mylars, those big clear things that everybody signs off in permanent marker, and then it gets recorded. Well, it used to be permanent marker, now they do it a little bit differently, but then it gets recorded and then we're done. So at the Planning Commission, we had kicked around, well, maybe since there wouldn't be any changes between the preliminary and the final plat, could skip the Planning Commission and go straight to council next meeting for the final plat. But maybe Planning Commission could use something to do, so it could go in front of us first. That's all I have. It's really, really straightforward. Anything with you, Bill?
Yeah, I think from the engineering side, what we look at a plat, we look at floodplain issues, we look at wetland issues. None of those are on this property. The big thing was the sewer and the water. Traditionally, they would be required to extend sewer and water, but as Brian mentioned, because they are outside, we don't have a definite time frame. If you use foreseeable future, I think we'd say probably a minimum of 10 years, maybe longer than that. We may never have sewer and water here. Then we asked them to declare how will you provide sewer and water. So the intent is they have a well, they'll have a common well, so they do have an easement on the property. They will share water between the two, and then they intend to do a septic system on site. So that would be permitted through Goodhue County. So they would have to, one of the things that Kurt and I talked about is that that should be, in the final plat approval contingent upon that they'll have to get, separate permitting from the county. So other than the non-traditional, being so far outside of where sewer and water is, the engineering side was also to recommend approval.
And then so do we want to do final plat, preliminary and final plat here? Is that what this is? Or is this?
What we have in front of us is just the preliminary. I don't know, Bill, what else?
They would have to submit a new document for that. So I think it's supposed to come back to the council. It could skip planning but you would have to come back to the council.
Yep.
Or a motion to approve
The preliminary plat?
preliminary plat for.
Just a motion.
To approve the planning commission's recommendation. Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Bill and Matt. 9D, staffing the brush site on the weekends. I guess a couple weeks ago, they staffed the brush site from open to close. I had some questions. So we did not staff it this past weekend. I met with Mike and Larry Monday morning and looked at, was there any things that shouldn't have been dumped? Was there? Yeah, there was some grass and perennials that were cut down that was next to the brush, but nothing any major issue. Larry has requested to do some type of staffing because the weekends are getting busy, and they have had issues in the past. I do know with the business that I do that some towns do staff it. I know Pine Island does periodically. I know a couple of years they had it staffed from sun up to sun's down. So I told Larry that we would discuss it, get feedback or concerns from council, and then give him direction of which way we want to go. So do you want to speak a little bit on?
I did a little bit of investigating into it. The problems I have down there, I have when the leaves start coming down, when the grass stops, when the leaves come down until freeze up or it's first snow. And I think it's due to the fact that when people are out rake their lawns, they find some stuff there, well, let's get rid of that too. I have more trouble from the 1st of October until the snow comes, the freeze up. When I had somebody staff it for a weekend, we had 4 incidents, 4 different times. But there was an old outhouse, there were some boards, and somebody got by with some boards, and I got them back in my pickup. But, today I got a lawn chair. So I mean, it varies. One weekend will be some stuff, and next weekend won't be nothing. I talked to Lake City, how they do with their brush site and stuff over there. First off, we came from 5 years ago, we had probably the worst brush site and compost site in the Goodhue County. And right now, we sit there at the top. Good, Redmond got those nice than we do, but, in Lake City, what they're doing is and I'm not saying this is what you guys have to do or whatever, but I'm just giving you for instance. Lake City charges their tree service companies $800 a year to get rid of their, $800 a year. And what we get a lot of is and he said what they had over there too is a lot of out-of-towners bringing stuff to the brush site. Tree branches, brush, whatever. And they do a $200 a year charge for anybody from out of town if they want to continue to bring their stuff into town, $200 a year. And they do it for the people in town too. They got a $2 a month service. I'm not saying we have to do that, but they got a service charge to have this amenity or this being able to get rid of your stuff. It's just an idea for us. If you want to look at that, that would pay for this, get somebody to staff it. When I was here in 79 to 90, we staffed it. We had somebody down there on the weekends to cover us. Weekends are the worst by far. Weekdays, we don't get a lot. I think people get home and they maybe mow their lawn or whatever, but they bring their stuff down on the weekends.
So what are you looking at that you want? I mean, what do you want to suggest on the weekend?
Now until the end of the year, until it freezes up or until snow, get somebody, if you want to change the hours, it'd be fine with me too. If you want to bring it down, we did it from 7 to 7 roughly, we were doing it. If you want to change it from 10 in the morning till 6 in the evening or to 5, we put something in the paper and let people know that we're going to do this to the end of the year. Due to the fact of the people putting this stuff in, everybody switches, they're putting stuff where nothing belongs. I was down there the other day and there was a nice old lady, she was doing it. I didn't have the heart to go and get after her. I just let her go on, but it'd be nice to finish it out to the end of the year until we come up with a program for next year, that maybe we can set something up with the local contractors and with the out-of-towners coming in. And maybe we have to look at what other communities are doing, how their staff and theirs. I leave it in your hands. You guys have to decide. I got money left in my part-time budget yet for this year. And I like to, if you want to change the hours, that's fine. If you want to, whatever, but that's the cheapest way I can give somebody to cover for it for the weekends. It's from Friday night after we get done work, the rest of the evening, and Saturday and Sunday. And you can shorten it on Sunday, open it up, or have it open shorter. Whatever you would like to do, it doesn't matter. But it's nice to, we got it looking so good down there. Everything is going so good. It'd be nice to continue what we got.
And a couple of things when I met with Larry and Mike. One, we spent thousands of dollars on a camera system, so that's there. I know Larry spent some time with the chief trying to blow up the license plates. Can't see them once you blow it up, so maybe we need to look at getting a license reader. I think we can add to that.
That quote is on its way.
Cheaper than staffing it all weekend.
Yeah, so that quote is on its way. I already sent that email. We'll have that quote next week for what's the term, chief? LPR camera.
So Is there a problem? Yes, there is. I've seen it. Everybody, Mike and Larry and Chris deal with picking up a lot of people that dump stuff. It depends on what you guys feel is necessary to staff that or how to staff it. I don't think we need it open from sun up to sundown, because who's picking their leaves up at 8 o'clock when there's frost on the ground? I don't care if it's a Saturday or a Sunday, nobody's doing that. So I think we can adjust the times a little bit.
Who opens it and closes it? Is that,
We open it during the week.
but who opens it
And
and
then
closes it
on
on
the
the weekend?
weekend, we never got rounds.
I think police department, don't you guys lock it up,
They
close it up
close it,
sometimes
the
too?
cops close it.
Yeah. And I mean, and I guess part of the thing too is I would throw that out there is that maybe our PD can patrol that a little bit more, run through there. I mean, if they're writing a report, maybe sit down there versus, because I think there's other activities that go on
I
then.
think that more has,
Yeah.
did they ever take down the Isaac Walton building, or are
It's
they
still there.
using that area for recreational activities? So it's still there.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I've thrown a lot of different ideas. I know that maybe our PD could zip through there a lot, or not a lot, a couple times throughout their shift just to see what goes on. And maybe they already do. I mean, I don't sit back there to see that, but I mean, we have a lot of different options. I guess we just need to direct Larry and Mike of what council opinion is or on staffing that. I also, when I did see it staffed here 2 weeks ago, I told it was probably a little too early because there was still a lot of leaves up there and we haven't had a hard frost. So I said maybe there should have been some more communication with Mike or Brian prior to that being staffed. So that's why we're at where we're at, because it became a topic. So I met with Mike and Larry to figure out what they want. And I said, let's bring it on council and get their opinion. So
You're looking, Larry, more for seasonal type, or person staff there?
Sometimes when it's grass, all it is grass and branches, and I don't have, once in a while I'll get a little bit here or there, and it's not a big deal. It's when the fall comes, that's when my problems are. When the cleanup, everybody's cleaning their places up. And I understand what they're doing. I had that outhouse that came, or part of an outhouse came in, they had brush, outhouse and brush on top. So your camera's not gonna see it if they go behind the pile anyway.
And they know they're not supposed to. That's why they stuck in the middle.
That's what I would do. I would have stuck it in the middle too and piled it in, but when we burn, and Lake City's burning now too, they're switching over and going to burning. We get, in our brush pile, we get big stones and we get log chain, the chain and wire and stuff. I mean, and that stuff just gets piled in there and gets pushed in there. And you're never gonna stop it all, you know.
and I think the fees that Larry was talking about, that I think we could revisit for next year, because I'll call myself out. I know last year I do some commercial properties.
Yep.
And there was a lot of garbage. Okay, it's Quick Trip. Have you ever been a Quick Trip property? There's a lot of garbage. Larry called me up and said, you just dropped from Quick Trip? I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of garbage. And so that does happen with commercial guys that we're not, I mean, we don't have the time to pick out garbage. We just go dump it, and Larry caught me. Well, knew who it was. So that commercial does happen, and I think that happens with tree guys. I think that happens with lawn guys when you do that more commercial stuff than you do residential. So, I mean, I think the fees issue, I think we could address.
I think the fee, exactly. I think if we did address the fee issue and we had got some money in from our local contractors, I've talked to them and they're all for that. You know, they understand that, then get somebody to man this thing during our toughest times and we can cover the expenses.
So fees we can address at a later date, but I think that's something that's a good.
So what are the expenses? So when you're talking about, what are the expenses?
Having somebody man it.
No, but like, if they're dumping something there, it's your time to pick it up and take it to the actual dump?
We have to take care of it. We got to take care of it. Take it out, back out to the city shop and put it in my dumpster out there. You know,
Okay.
we had a jacuzzi brought in and some.
You name it's been dumped. I mean, you think of it, it's been dumped there at one point, so.
The hard things are the
Hot
things that are,
tub.
Have you seen a difference with the cameras, that there's less weird stuff being
Or
dumped
the
or
new
none?
fence system or times?
Not a whole lot yet, not a whole lot yet. I talked to Brian, and we gotta get some signs up to say we got cameras right there, you know, show them the cameras and.
yeah, I asked
Larry and Mike and Miranda to put together a post to put out there that, hey, we've got cameras, we're gonna be able to see you. We can see people, we can see vehicles, we can see what you're hauling in there. Can't quite get the license plate.
Oh, we will.
We can't see behind the brush pile. That's another thing that kind of came up, that if you get through and behind the brush pile, we can't see what you're putting in there. So if it's something buried in the leaves, we're not necessarily gonna see that.
Camera on that end?
But
Is it too far away from the other?
we could, we can, yeah, I mean, well, yeah, it's gonna be another carriage point and another pole and more power and all of that.
But it's 24/7
So
watching it versus.
it is.
random hours.
And one of the considerations in my mind is just kind of where you were heading, Tina, is what's the man hours to pick up these things that show up? I know, how much time does that take and
Well, I mean,
what's that
when I sit
cost?
there for 12 hours, I think it's.
I don't mind that. I think between me and Kim, me and Mike, we can come up with roll some numbers together and talk this thing over and come up with something to bring forward to you. But I'd like to finish this, I got this next 3-4 weeks, that's my tough ones.
Yeah, and Mike's crew and Larry, they have to deal with it. So I don't want to say, this isn't worth it, because if they say it is, I don't deal with it. I just want to make sure that if it's, a couple hours a week of hauling stuff out of there, as opposed to 12 hours a day every weekend, 24 hours of paying somebody, that
Right. That's
maybe
fine. I
it
mean,
doesn't
that's
make
the-
complete sense.
Exactly.
But if great, if I want to stand behind my guys, because they do this stuff, and pulling someone off to take care of that stuff takes away from sewer jetting or something like that. So there's all kinds of things to weigh there, but, I just want to make sure we go into it with our eyes open.
Yep. My other question, so that I had been asked a few weeks ago, and to your point, Larry, is individuals in the township that would like to either contribute to our day, their spring and the fall cleanup days, or use the dump, if they have to come with their city address, is there an opportunity when you start discussing maybe, differences for 2023, is there an opportunity for individuals in the township to pay a $5 fee for that day, but also
The cleanup.
because otherwise all the shit just ends up in their ditches anyway when they have to clean it up.
The LRS cleanup, if you look at it now, they've attached fees to everything.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
not that much to expose. That's always been tied into our waste hauling contract. I don't know if that's as easy a one to open it up to everyone. That
I would imagine
we have to talk to LRS about probably.
Right, and if they're coming to the brush site, nobody knows it anyways, because they go to the brush site.
So that one I think we have to be a little separate.
So if you just add that into your discussion, when we start discussing fees.
Yeah.
So, and I know in Pine Island, they would not let any non-resident or business dump in Pine Island. I was picking up leaves for residents in Pine Island, they wouldn't let me dump. Guess where they came?
Better not have been here, Todd.
There wasn't.
Trees, trees.
What if we were to change the hours like 9 to 5 on Saturday and 10 to 4 on Sunday? Would you expect that when you came there on Sunday morning, you'd see a pile at the gate?
Well, then you got cameras there too to see that, that you kept them. We can shut the gate for the brush site, separate from the recycle site now. And we can just close it and if they're gonna dump it, they're gonna dump it right there.
I mean,
That'd be fine.
those would be hours where I think most people are gonna be doing the work anyway. And it reduces the overtime by 10 hours, or by, almost 10 hours.
See, and I would be open to doing 10 to 6, but only staffing it some hours of that 10 to 6. Maybe not the whole 8, maybe noon to 5 or
That's a
something.
good idea.
It would be kind of something that I would look at versus sitting there, because as soon as at 10 o'clock, you can have a lineup, and at 6 o'clock, you're probably not gonna have a lineup to get in before it closes.
If you don't staff it, we're gonna have to get somebody down there to open it, and to close it. That's the only stickler.
But they already do close it.
What?
They already do close it.
Yeah, or open it.
Well, but you have who's rounding in the morning then, because they have to go out to
We
the
do
meter.
rounds in the morning, but that's at 7 o'clock usually, and that's the thing.
That's why, because they do it at 7.
But in the summertime, don't you PD close that, open and close it for the most part?
Our problem is we're, with calls of service, we can't have a distinct time
Yeah.
that we're there, so.
Makes sense. because I wouldn't want to sit in trucks 12 hours and babysit people, but.
So you open it at 7, you staff at 10 to 3, and then you guys close it down at 5.
I think we need to do something.
Yeah.
Just because we're in the heat of the moment of leaves, and there's still quite a bit of leaves up, but people are starting to do their yards, so staffing 12, 10 hours, I don't agree with, but something to,
Yeah, 5 hours a day, that's 10 hours.
so, I mean, that's my take.
You want to go with Dirk's suggestion for the next 3 to 4 weeks until we have a better plan for next year? Before the cameras are in?
You won't get a better plan than mine.
For next year? Until the cameras in for next year?
Can you repeat that plan?
I would maybe go 5 weeks till the last weekend of November 20th would be my, an idea that you haven't done your
I
leaves.
think
by
it should
then.
be until it snows.
Or, yeah, or still it snows.
We'll have to happen tomorrow, so.
Right.
What's it going?
I don't know.
Too late.
So what was that, 7 to 7? Or 7 to,
Well, it'll be.
You open the gate during morning rounds, right?
Yep.
But you staff it from 10 to 3. And then when you guys get a chance, right around 5, if you're available, or whenever you can, close it
There's
up.
two on, so somebody's got to be available. Well, there's 3 of them, so somebody can drive by and close it up. at
So
5 o'clock.
that gives you 10 hours of active work, you know, or someone being there. So good compromise, I think.
Is that something that can be put out on the website or to the city website?
But we're not
People
changing
know?
the hours at all, we're just staffing, so I don't know if we have
Staffing
to
it, but
advertise.
just to let people know that
Yeah,
as
because
well.
it's changing hours, because it's gonna open till 10 o'clock at night.
It's when we can close it at a different time.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, I think that's fair. But 5 o'clock's gonna be very different than 10 o'clock.
But
But I
if
don't
you-
know, I think it shouldn't be open when it's not light out.
I don't think we need to advertise that we're staffing it because that's when we're gonna catch people.
yeah.
I'm just saying.
Hey, don't bring illegal stuff from 10 to 3.
Yeah, then they'll, you know, keep them guessing when it's staffed, is what I'm saying, for these sneaky people. But saying that it's gonna be closed at 5 or 6 or whatever.
Because who closes it now? Do you guys closing that night now during the week, on the weekends now? It's just
At-
whenever you
at
get there,
10.
you get there. But is it 8 o'clock sometimes, 7 o'clock sometimes, 10 o'clock, or is it always 10 o'clock?
10 o'clock is when we do all the other rounds, so we generally do.
At 9, you said? Okay.
10.
10, oh, okay.
You're eating.
I do.
10, 10.
Is that after 9?
10.
So I would say if they could do it at 6, great.
Yeah, just once it's dark, if they can get to
Do
it,
on
get
the
to it.
12. I don't think you heard that one. At least that's work on the weekends, I forgot.
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
Make a motion that we open the gate at 7, staff from 10 to 3, close the gate at 5,
Saturday, Sundays, correct?
Saturday, Sunday until the first snow.
Can I, does it matter? Can we just put it 5 hours each day to be here?
Yeah.
You know, Larry can be flexible with his guys if they have something going on, they might want to work,
Yeah, that's,
you know, something.
that's a better idea.
But I think if we're gonna staff it, we wanna do it, what's gonna be more of the busy time, I would say from
I
noon to
think that
4.
that's Larry's to manage.
Okay,
I think we should look at next year too, though, maybe looking at generating some money, whether it be from contractors bringing stuff in or whatever. And then it would give us a little bit of flexibility on having somebody staff, and then we can look at our hours and make it better for the people too.
And in January, to do
So,
it.
all right.
Okay, so I will second, motion to 10 hours for the weekend.
5 hours a day,
However,
whatever.
I don't know,
Perfect.
however, whatever Larry thinks is adequate for those 2 days. With no more than 10 hours
Perfect.
total.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. 9E, Sergeant Walrick step raise. Brian?
Yes, you've got kind of everything on the memo there. We hired, as you know, we hired 2 sergeants recently. One Before the other, we hired Justin on December 19th of last year. And then our second sergeant was in April. We brought in the second sergeant at a step 5 in grade 11 due to some considerations and getting the right person in that position, which put that sergeant a step ahead of Sergeant Walrick. And so Sergeant Walrick requested to meet with the personnel committee just to talk about this perceived pay inequity. While it's not unusual to bring in a new employee at a higher level, and it's not a reason to raise someone else up, because that happens all the time. But it became apparent when the personnel committee and we talked with Justin and looking at some of the merits and the years of service and what Justin does for this department that we wanted to consider an extra step raise for Justin to get him even, get the sergeant even. One of them has more formal education, one of them has much more experience, and I listed out a whole bunch of Justin's certifications that he has went out and requested and done, including the drug recognition evaluator, which is huge right now because there's a whole lot of that out there. Firearms instructor, standardized field sobriety test instructor, background investigator, towards zero death coordinator. He does a lot with that. And that brings tools, small tools, money into the community as well. And also Sergeant Walrick is our training officer, which is very valuable. You know, so Sergeant Walrick's request to take a look at the levels, the personnel committee considered all of that, and we chose to recommend and think it's appropriate to recommend a step raise effective November 1st for Sergeant Walrick, which is ahead of his other, you know, he'll continue to normally get his normal step raise as well. But that'll even things out within the sergeant. So we feel that that is appropriate given the two sergeants that we have. So that's basically what it is.
So any further discussions? Just need a motion in a second.
I make a motion, we approve the raise, step raise.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Passes 5-0. Thanks, Brian. 9F, PFAS MOU. Mike,
It's called PFAS, they call them.
we'll just keep it that way because
Yeah, MOU between the cities and Golden and PCA. Statewide monitoring for power, oil, also substances. And then the MOU states that PFAS is non-class environmental contaminants that are present in the environment and their widespread use of industries, commercials, and household applications. I think the wastewater plant has been identified as having an SIU or could be a significant industrial user. That's what triggered us to get onto the program for monitoring PFAS. I think Bob had some questions earlier, and I thought about it afterwards. In the MOU, the facilities agreed to the following: submit a PFAS sampling plan, collect quarterly influence samples, inventory potential sources, develop a PFAS pollutant management plan, and work with industrial users and other users to reduce PFAS and wastewater influent based on their defined thresholds. So that was part of what Bob was asking, was kind of, I guess what you're asking is what was required of us in this MOU, and it does require plans and everything to move forward. And that's why the agreement with WHKS kind of follows this. So they'll help us put this plan and stuff together.
I'm sure MPCA sent money along for us.
They did have funding for 2 samplings.
How many do you do?
4.
Every year? Two every year they sent money for, or?
Well, so far, this is just set up. I think it's going to be more defined after we get into the testing and stuff, where we go after that.
And then
when,
We
if the
talked-
dairy ever gets their own permit, will we continue this?
Well,
Get a district permit?
really what it is, it's gonna depend on what they find in the sampling, honestly. A lot of that sampling is fluoropolymer coatings, which you find in the heat-resistant pans, oil stains, grease, and water. And then I've heard packaging too. A lot of it's in packaging, your popcorn, microwave popcorn bags and stuff like that. So it's just kind of all over the board. And I think it's fair to say the MPC doesn't quite know where they're at on all of it, although they do know they want us to start testing for this, running it through. And right now, I think there's only, would you say earlier today, there's only 2 labs that test for this?
Correct. Yeah,
In your
and
country or in the state of Minnesota?
in Minnesota. And if the city enters into this agreement, the PCA is, as Mike mentioned, to fund 2 of the sampling. Sampling is about $1,500 a time, so that's about $3,000. Because in the first round of the MOU, a lot of cities complained, so there's, a lot of pushback. But this is a problem. This is a problem statewide. If you guys have followed the East Metro, 3M, this was their big lawsuit that they've settled over Scotchgard, going to the water, Gore-Tex, some other things that Mike mentioned, Teflon. There's a lot of things, a lot of metal plating facilities, have PFAS in their, what they use. And this is not going to go away. This is technically voluntary, but then you don't get the dollars. And then they did put the hammer out there that if you don't enter into it voluntarily, then they will force you to. So they flat out told everybody. Yep.
Yeah.
You have a choice.
Yeah. But do it now or do it later, and they're gonna help you with the start of the cost now, so.
Right.
Bill, on the MOU, is that something that they instruct me to sign based on their approval tonight, or is that a mayor signature, what do you think?
Go ahead.
That was a mayor from what I saw in the MOU. What's that about? I'm not sure, I guess I didn't.
Oh, I thought it was, was it January or it's.
We got a little time on it, yeah.
The actual program, the MOU, the requirements started October 15th, and there's a 4 sample period, so I don't recall what it's.
I think it was January.
I think it's January, but. So ideally what happens, so one of the things in the MOU, it says you do the first 2 sampling, and then they have not established a threshold to continue on to the 3rd or the 4th. So ideally what happens is we get 0 in our discharge, and then this goes away. The challenge is not just the industries, it's washing your, it's Gore-Tex, it's other things. So one of the things that's going on nationwide is they're finding residential homes are also putting PFAS into the system. So there's a lot to be determined here.
There are 4,730 different PFAS chemicals, and it's in everybody has it in their body right now. It's in your carpet when your grandchild rolls in it. It's in the vest, right? The vest. Any jacket you have that's water resistant, any shoes that you buy, it's in pans, it's everywhere. So I'm really concerned that we're going to try to establish these testing, and we're going to have DFA and check their effluents and stuff when they have proven that they can't even get a sample that's not contaminated by the sampling facility, because it's on their hand, it's everywhere. They don't know what a threshold level is. They don't know what an action level is. They do know it's cancer causing. We do know that. And so I don't think we know enough yet. I have to deal with this at the power plant because you can incinerate PFAS. If you guys don't know what it is, it's a long string of fluorine and chlorine and carbon, and it creates a very strong resistance. So
the big thing is getting in the wastewater stream. There's nothing, there's no defined way of treating it.
Right.
We kick it out into the river, and the fish and the wildlife are the big area. They're the big intake of it and carry it through, so.
Do you want to do them in 2 separate motions, or can we make them in one?
I figure we should put them in 2 separate motions. The MOU is separate from the agreement.
I'd like to make the motion and say it this way, that PFAS memorandum of understanding so that everyone else can understand what it is. I had to look, I'm like, what's an MOU? It just.
Oh, sorry.
So that we would approve the memorandum of understanding.
I'm not going to vote for it. I think it's wrong of the MPCA to do it.
Any further discussions?
I think they're doing it to start getting some of it, yes. So.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You opposed? Passes 3-0. Thanks, Mike. 9G, PFAS WHKS agreement. Mike, Bill?
This is simply to help carry out all the things we just talked about. So this just details that. So this is something that we met with Paul on, and the wastewater staff needs help to prepare these items. So, and we don't exactly know. I mean, we've been told generally, so this is just an hourly amount. Brian wants to put a dollar limit in there to keep under. And ideally, we do even less than this, but we won't know until we get those first 2 sets of samples.
I mean.
Yeah, just prove the agreement, because that's how the agreement's written, up to 5,000.
The problem, if we don't do it now, we're gonna get forced to do it. I mean, and that's the thing is, you don't wanna get on the bad side of MPCA and stuff like that. So that's why we kind of need.
I mean, my editorial, it's a little unfair to say we're forcing you to do, I'm sorry, we're asking you to do this. If you don't, we're gonna force you. And if you do it, we'll give you money. And if you don't, then we're not gonna give you money. So, by the way, that doesn't sit real well with the Bills and Mikes of the world and Brian's, and when we had some conference calls with the state, there was a lot of upset city officials, voicing this displeasure. Just so you guys know, that has not, everybody just hasn't complied and said, well, we'll go do this. So anyway.
Bill, what's the knowledge or what do you have that the guys at the plant don't have to get this plan set up? That's one thing this part I'm missing.
Primarily the skill level to put together reports and plans. Those guys just don't generally do that.
Just the plans and the reports?
Correct, yep.
It's not actually the physical testing and the type of.
No, they would still do the physical testing, correct?
Yeah.
Yep, it's to help put the reports together.
Okay.
And it's out of the ordinary. It's not something that they have done.
Right.
So
How much of this would be reimbursed by the MPCA with the money they have?
much of the engineering.
Zero.
Right now, just those 2 tests.
So about 3,000
Correct.
for the 5?
No, that's separate.
Yep, that's separate.
Separate. So of the 5,000, 0.
Oh, out of that
Yep.
5,000.
Yep, of the
only thing that
6,000.
The MPC is gonna give us is that $3,000 of testing. All of this is on city. Sewer.
Yep.
Right.
No, it would come out of the sewer operating. Sewer restricted for improvements or larger pieces of equipment within the sewer.
Make motion that we enter into professional services agreement with the WHKS for the PFAS. Up to 5,000.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. 9H, thanks Bill and Mike again. 9H, Resolution 2022-19 official depository.
You said it right. Good.
Brian was telling me not to say well on the way, but Kim.
The bank, as you know, went through a change, and usually we designate the official depository on January 1, but because they went through a ownership and name change, we need to make that change official till the end of the year. We will redesignate them January 1st, as we always do.
So I'm reading this and it says, I have to make the motion and Bob has to second it.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
We recycled the
That would be my fault.
resolution.
I just said, do we have to do it that way? We could do it that way, so we don't have to redo it. I will make the motion to approve resolution 2022-19, changing our depository to Friends of Bank and Trust. Sure. If he wants to. No pressure, Bob.
Hmm.
It was good foresight.
So we got a second with Bob?
You have to roll call.
Yeah. So we'll do a roll call. Sarah?
Aye.
Tina? Aye. Bob? Dirk? Aye. So passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Kim. Reports, Brian?
Yes, the THC ordinance that we've discussed, Matt and I continue to work with that. We've got a draft done, just working on reviewing that, making tweaks, and then we'll bring something back for your review. Negotiations, waiting to hear back from the police union. Sounds like that's getting pretty close. We should hear from them pretty soon, and we can get going with that, in hopes to get it done by the end of the year. Christ Lutheran School, we're waiting, the status of that, we're waiting to hear back from Schumacher's for annexing the other half of the road. So when the annexation went through, it was only half of the road. Well, the other half of the road needs to be in there, and that's kind of on their plate right now. And I have given preliminary grading approval for them to start moving dirt when they're ready to move dirt. At the Ziba meeting, sounds like there's gonna have some speakers installed sometime in November, so we might have some Christmas music during the holiday season. Security cameras, I've got a quote coming for a license plate camera, just to see what that would cost out at the brush site. We also have a Zoom meeting, I just sent that to you, next Tuesday to do a virtual training with Veracata for police staff, myself, and whoever, if Mike has anybody that wants to know how to run the cameras, want access to the cameras. There's a lot of features and things. I've been through training, but it's been long time ago, so I'm having trouble passing along and remembering how to use some of the features. And the police officers use it quite often, so it'll be nice to have them up to speed on what they're capable of, what the cameras are capable of, and what the settings are. We had a sidewalk committee meeting.
What?
Yes. And we did. We're talking about a maintenance program, and we'll start out with a maintenance program. We're, because we've got a lot of sidewalks that are in need of some repairs, out of compliance. We want to kind of try and see if we can take care of some of those. I've been talking to Kim about, what budget there is for it, if there's some money that has been unspent. Yep, so there's some unspent money, so we can.
14 years.
So we can bite off a big chunk. There's a company called Safe Step that we're going to take a look at. I'm going to have a presentation for the sidewalk committee. And that's what they do, is sidewalk maintenance. They've done it. Rochester, Chatfield, a whole bunch of communities use them. And they'll go assess the sidewalks, give a cost, and they'll do as much sidewalk repair, which includes grinding, cutting, whatever needs to be done, as we have for budget. We just tell them, we've got $10,000 this year, do as much as you can. And we'll point them to an area that we want them to focus on. And then we're also working on identifying, making sure the trunk sidewalks are where we think they should be. There are some trunk sidewalks identified now. And we want to see, future, and just to make sure that that plan that was laid out however many years ago is still accurate for where we should have trunk sidewalks. I think that's it.
Perfect. Thanks, Brian. Chief?
Today I attended a virtual pre-deployment meeting from Motorola in regards to the new camera systems through the WatchGuard system. And with that meeting, we had representatives from Marco who deal with our IT needs. So they're going to be, they got some information from Motorola as to some specifications that they're going to have to look into to make sure that when we actually deploy that we're IT ready for that. They've got to assign somebody to Motorola that they'll be working with them through that. So there'll be some, they said engineering or something that they'll be able to get something to Brian on. But we're set for December 12th yet. There'll be somebody on site getting it set up. I should have 2 vehicles that will already have new mobile systems installed in them. And then my hope and plan is that the day that deployment starts, they're gonna take 2 more and get those set up. So I intend to, for our next council meeting, to let's get a meeting. What am I looking for?
Public hearing.
Public hearing,
Yes.
public meeting, public hearing. Get one of those set so that we can get that statutory requirement out there. And that we could potentially be ready to just go ahead and start using them if need be. If there's an absence of mobile systems, I don't want that situation. But if there is, we might be able to utilize at least the body worn stuff while we're waiting. So aside from that, it's going well. I have all the systems on hand and we'll see what happens.
You guys excited or not so much? I'm excited for you.
Yesterday,
Please shut them off when you go to the bathroom.
someone yesterday asked me about where's my camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Well, good. So at least you can video other people while they're videoing you.
there's kind of an expectation, out there among some that we have them. And this is, of course, new ground for us, so
Absolutely. Whatever's gonna help keep you safe.
that's all I got.
Thank you. Bill, do you have anything to add?
There's still some sanitary district stuff going on in the background, related to permitting, some of the things we turned in all the way last spring. So some of that stuff's still going along, slowly. And we're basically going to be waiting for the legislature to convene in January to see if a bonding bill is passed and this moves forward or not. So.
Thank
Can I piggyback on that real quick? I forgot one thing. We do have a quote, a preliminary quote from the lobbyist again for this next year. I'll present that once the sanitary district committee has had a chance to review it and see if we want to move forward as the 4 communities with a lobbyist and what that time frame looks like. So that'll be in a council meeting for consideration here shortly.
Perfect.
Nothing additional. Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Bill. James?
Nothing tonight, thanks.
Kim?
We will begin implementation of some portions of the new software system starting next week with training. So the next, till the end of the year, Miranda and I will be doing training. So everyone else in the office is going to get to answer phones and do stuff while Miranda and I train on that, so.
We may need the mayor to stop in and answer phones for us.
Perfect. Thanks, Kim. Mike?
Just a couple of things that's going to be coming. We got well rehab. I've got the quotes back for that. I only got one this year. It's the company that generally has in the past has got our quotes for doing the well rehab. And I've sent out 3 bid sheets for them. So I'm not sure if people are too busy, don't have help or whatever. And generally I've gotten a couple or 3 quotes, I think, back as usual. And then I'll have the equipment rental for the 2023 season coming up again. And I think last year was the same thing. It's advertised in the paper now, but I think we only got 1 quote back last year. Those prices look like they've gone up considerably too. So just kind of an FYI. That's all I have.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. I just have one thing. Myself and Mike and Bill attended the listening tour for Brad Finstead last Thursday at 8, and then with 3 other communities that we talked about. The sanitary district was kind of the big focus with Brad. Yeah, I'm trying to think where I lost my train of thought. So yeah, it went very well. We had a good turnout, a lot of business owners from the Pine Island, Wadamingo, Zumbrota area, had some good questions and good answers for Brad. So it was well attended and learned quite a bit on Brad's views and kind of gave him the lowdown on our sanitary district. So that was good. That's all I got. Sarah?
Good.
Tina?
We had fire board meeting on Tuesday, went well. I think we have moved the joint powers agreement discussion to start after the first of the year with some dedicated time to work on that so we can get to a new revised, updated Joint Powers Agreement. But otherwise, and we're gonna have a replacement in chiefs. So we'll have a new administrative chief beginning of the year.
Ladder, they were gonna sell the
You can have that one.
ladder truck. They want to sell that. It's not used and they have other ones in Pine Island and Goodhue that we could use, so it's a 70 or 1983, I think it is. And it's better to get money now than to have a lawn ornament later. So
It's passed all its inspections and things right now, and it is certified. But we have thrown a lot of money into it in the last several years for what we use it. And it hasn't been on a fire for several years. So it's at that point where we're wondering if now is the time to do it. So I know
So
we
that's what
brought
they're
it before the board.
Yep, I think that's what they're gonna explore. Is if
Yeah.
anybody wants to spend money for it, purchase it, because it does still work well.
Someone out west will buy it, they're just happy to get something. Isn't that where the other pumper truck went last time? I think so.
Anything else, Bob?
No.
Dirt?
No.
Meeting adjourned.
I just one thing, just an informative thing, in the park, our city park, Mike and I did just a GPS round, we did an inventory of our ash trees, we got 127 ash trees in that park. And this last year we lost 3 trees, this year we lost about a third, that's 127 already. We're gonna have to be coming down this next year somehow or other. It's devastating what's happening. I guess within another
Just
year,
fine,
we're gonna lose
yeah.
all of that. Coming that fast.
Ash borers.
Yeah, that's a good point.